Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be another Canadian Soldier Reacts video, and today we are doing part 2 of military sayings and slang. And I'm in a different spot today. I moved my picture because I'm going to need all of this space that's right here for all of the rest of the military sayings and slang that I have right now. So, without further ado, I will get into it. So let's look at the next one. So the next one in the list is paracord. So I suppose I should have gone out and gotten some to show you guys. So paracord, you can actually buy paracord at a lot of places now. When I was in, you couldn't actually get it. But like the box stores have it, Harbor Freight has it, and it's basically a Kern Mantle style of cord that's about a 1/16 of an inch thick. It's basically a braided nylon rope that has a braided outer shell to it, and then I don't know how many internal strands of rope, twine, call it whatever you want, but it's all, I think it's all polyester or some sort of synthetic braided nylon rope. And it's, like I said, it's very thin. It's like about a 1/16 of an inch thick, but it's also extremely strong. And it's called paracord because, at least in the Canadian military, I believe, and again, I'm not airborne, so if somebody from the airborne who knows better than I do, correct me down in the comments, but I believe that's what was actually used to connect your harness to your actual parachute. But we would use it for basically everything. Paracord was like the all, in the infantry, paracord was like the all-purpose. If you need rope, it was thin, it was light, and it was strong. So, next one. Gun tape. So, gun tape is basically just the military's version of duct tape, or kind of like gaffer's tape. Gaffer's tape's a little bit different, but it's a green tape, so that, you know, when you put it on something military, and most things are green, it's harder to see. It doesn't stand out at all. And yeah, we put it on a lot of stuff. The only thing that we don't put gun tape on is guns. Who knew? Next one, FUBAR. Oh, and again, there's going to be swearing in this video. So, FUBAR is an acronym. It means fucked up beyond all recognition. And I might have this further on down, but basically means that it's a shit show. Nothing's going right. Yeah. And another version of that is snafu. Situation normal, all fucked up. And that is basically the same thing as a clusterfuck. So, yeah, FUBAR, snafu, clusterfuck, and shit show, basically all exactly the same thing. It just means that nothing's going right. Oh, apparently I put 2 out there. So, JAFO, another acronym, means just another fucking officer. Some people use it to mean, the O can mean other things, like just another fucking observer. Some people have said it just another forward observer, but basically it means just another fucking officer. And again, you know, like I said in the last video, you'll find a lot of derogatory terms here. The military people like to find derogatory terms for everything. LOD and AOR, there's probably, well, there definitely is a heck of a lot more than what I've got here, but LOD basically means line of defense. When you call stand 2, if you remember back to the last video, when you call stand 2, generally people are going to the line of defense. AOR means area of responsibility. Um, OR actually can mean if you're talking medical, OR obviously means operating room, um, or operational responsibility, that kind of a thing. AO means actually area of operation, but basically AO and AOR basically mean exactly the same thing. Oh yeah, and here we go. So soup sandwich, bag of shit, and shit bubble basically all mean the same thing. Although, what I'll say is, so soup sandwich basically mostly refers to a person's looks. So if their combats are wrinkled, most especially if their epaulette slip-ons are wrinkled. If when I was in, well, actually, it moved several times, but for a while, your rank was on your epaulette slip-on. So the epaulette is actually the piece of fabric that is sewn to your shoulder, and it's got a button on one side. That's the actual epaulette. But the slip-on for the epaulette goes over top of that always. You'll never see a soldier walking with bare epaulets. He'll always have a slip-on over top of the epaulette. And oftentimes his rank will be on that slip-on. If you wash your uniform and don't take your slip-ons off, the slip-ons bunch up, get very, very wrinkled, and literally look like crap on there. It's like a ball of crap on there. So soup sandwich. If you think about taking soup and trying to make it into a sandwich, and how bad that would look, that's essentially what they're saying about a person, and they're really just saying that he's a bag of shit. Now, shit bubble actually is an interesting thing. So, in the military, at least in my unit, there's a meme that goes around that says that your civilian friends will talk nice to your face and talk shit behind your back. Your military friends will talk shit to your face and talk nice behind your back. And another one that talks about military greetings. And shit bubble is actually often used as a greeting between friends in the military. Hey, shit bubble, what's up? And it does, when used in that kind of a setting, it doesn't actually mean that the guy thinks that you're a shit bubble. It's just it's actually a friendly greeting between two military people, or hey, fuck nuts, or things of that nature. Horsecock. Who wants to take a guess at what that is? So a horsecock is literally a hose, flexible hose. It's about inch and a half wide, and it's about 12 inches long, I think. And it goes in the end of a jerry can, and it's used for gas jerry cans, so that you can fill up a vehicle without spilling the stuff all over the ground. That hose is called a horsecock. So you'll hear that all the time. Hey, toss me the horsecock. It's just a normal military word or term for something. Bowser. Oh, and I put two up again. So a Bowser, usually a water Bowser. I suppose it could mean a fuel Bowser also, and it basically just means a tanker. So a Bowser generally was a big tank on a set of wheels that could be pulled by a medium logistics vehicle. When I was in, they were pulled by 5/4, and a 5/4 is literally a 1.25 ton GMC pickup truck. But it could also be pulled by an MLVW, medium logistics vehicle, wheeled, an ML, deuce and a half. ML and a deuce and a half are sort of, or very close to the same thing. And I don't know exactly how many gallons it held, maybe 500 or so. If you know how many gallons a Canadian Bowser, water Bowser, held, leave it down in the comments for me. I'd be interested to know. On the bus, off the bus here. So that one, it meant a bunch of different things, but essentially what it meant was you're getting jerked around. It means you're doing the same things over and over again. And actually this happened to us sometimes too. We'd be standing around for an hour waiting for something, and they tell us, on the bus, and everybody move and they get on the bus. And we just get settled on the bus, and they say, off the bus, and everybody would pick up, having gone nowhere, and get off the bus. And it started becoming a term that meant that feeling when you were told to do things that were useless, irrelevant. Next. 1, 2, 3, 1. And if you hear a Canadian military person say this, often they'll say it 1, 2, 3, 1. Because the ones are the important part of this. And you'll also hear actually another term, and I didn't write this one down, is move on the ones. And you would hear this a lot during drill, and it's a drill term. And it's basically the cadence for doing drill at the standing position. So not while you're marching, but while you're at the standing position. Any drill that you did, or at least 99% of the drill that you did, was based off of the cadence 1, 2, 3, 1. So if you were moving from the position of stand at ease to attention, on the 1, you would pick your left leg up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was your left leg. You'd pick your left leg up. If I'm wrong about that, tell me down in the... It's been 20 plus years since I got out. 26 years since I got out. So you pick your left leg up 6 inches on the 1, and then you would count 2, 3, waiting with your foot, with your thigh parallel to the ground. And then on that second one, you would drive your foot down 12 inches. And if you remember yesterday's or last week's video, part 1, that would be how we would get the entire battalion from the position of stand at ease to the position of attention, and have that boom be exactly at the same time. Read back or read back my orders. And basically all this was the commander who had just given you orders, whatever level of commander he was, asking you to confirm your understanding of what he just said. So if he gives you a set of orders, especially if they're reasonably complicated orders, he wants to know that you know exactly what he asked you to do. And read back my orders is just you confirming to him that you know what he asked. And you've got to prove that to him. You can't just say, yeah, I know what you're looking for. You have to say exactly what you're going to do in order to fulfill his orders. Hurry up and wait. Actually, kind of similar to on the bus, off the bus. It refers to the military's tendency to tell you to be somewhere at a certain time and then tell you to wait for 15 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is. They'll say, wait. And then when it's time to go, it's go, get there now. You're too slow. And then you get there and it's wait. And you could be waiting for 5, 10, 20, 50 minutes, an hour. And then it's time to go again and it's go. So it's basically what it means is do everything as fast as you can and then spend shitloads of amount of time waiting for the next time for you to do everything as fast as you can again. Next one, hay box and track pads. And actually, hockey pucks kind of fits in the hay box too. So that'll kind of tell you what it is. A hay box was actually one of the best things that you could see when you were in the field. When we were in the field, there were only really three ways that we ate in the field. Um, there were um, there were rations. In the United States, they call them MREs. In Canada, they call them IMPs. But basically, they're boil in a bag meals that you have to cook yourself and eat yourself, and then pack up all your trash and carry it out with you. The next would be if you're not really in the field, but you're on a short term work party or something like that, or maybe you've just flown in and you're getting off the plane, or maybe even when you get on the plane, if you're going to be on the plane for a long time, they'll give you what's called a box lunch. A box lunch is basically just a couple of sandwiches, maybe some nuts or some chips or some fruit, and a drink. But basically just a small, easy to eat lunch. But, well, actually, I guess there's four ways. So that's two. The third way, and probably the second most um, uh, sought after way, was hay box. So a hay box was a big metal bucket, essentially. It was about yay wide, so about yay wide, and about yay wide, and about yay tall, and it was essentially a bucket with a lid on it. And they could put three different smaller buckets in there, and they would fill that up with actual hot food. And that was the second best way. So this is in order, right? The worst is IMPs, the next is box lunch, then hay box. That was the second best way to eat, but by far the best way to eat, if you could ever get it, was a field kitchen. A field kitchen was just a lap of luxury. And generally, not always, but generally, when you had a field kitchen, you actually had tables to sit at too. Hay boxes, you almost, it was hit or miss. Usually you didn't. Hay boxes is a lot of times, hay boxes is when you would actually sandwich everything. People in the military know how to turn everything into a sandwich, because when you're getting stuff out of hay boxes, like I said, oftentimes, most times, you don't have anywhere to sit. So you want handheld things that you can eat easily, because really all you generally have is your hands and your canteen cup, and that's a cup that slid onto the bottom of your canteen. So you would either put everything into the canteen cup, or you'd put it between a couple of pieces of bread, and that's how you'd eat it. Track pads referred to a bunch of different things, but generally veal cutlets that you would get. And a track pad is a very hard piece of rubber that is put onto an M113, an armored personnel carrier, a tracked vehicle, armored personnel carrier, or a tank, or whatever. And it would basically, it was saying that these things were hard as a trackpad or hard as a rock. Very similar to hockey pucks. Same kind of a thing. Next one, gas chamber. Um, that's pretty easy. Military people, every military person that I know of had to go through the gas chamber. That is a small room that they fill with in the Canadian Forces, it was CS gas. And I don't even know what CS stood for, but it's essentially tear gas. It's probably wildly different, but it does essentially the same thing as tear gas. And there was a whole host of things that you had to do in there. You do a lot of stuff with your gas mask and your NBC suit on. But then at different points, you'd have to take your gas mask off and say things and do things, and like do jumping jacks and push-ups, and say entire monologues that they gave you with your gas mask off. and then get your gas mask back on, clear it, and get out. And you would come out of that thing. It was not uncommon for you to take your gas mask off after you come out of the gas chamber, and a line of snot as long as your arm would attach to your face and your gas mask at the same time. And it was all to get you used to the type of gas, tear gas type stuff that would be used on you in the field, so you would understand what it is that you're having to deal with. CP, pretty easy, another acronym. A lot of acronyms here. This basically means command post. So you'll hear it used in other contexts, but it always basically means the same thing. I'm going to the command post. I'm going to the place where the commander is. That kind of a thing. CP generally referred to a truck. We had a CP truck or a CP APC, and it had a tent basically that would come off the back of that that we could put up and down pretty quickly if we had to get in and out of hides and things like that. BFA means, you hear me say that a lot in the videos. BFA means blank firing attachment. It's basically a plug that we put into the end of our rifles. And that was used so that we could do blank fire exercise, because a blank has, I don't know exactly how much gunpowder a blank has in it, but it has significantly less gunpowder in it than an actual bullet does. And a bullet, as the bullet is going down the barrel, gas is expanding, right? So it's expanding in two directions. It's pushing the bullet down the barrel, but it's also at the same time pushing the breech back so that it loads another round. If you don't have that bullet in the barrel, all of the gas is able to easily go down that barrel, and there's much less force pushing back on the bolt. And obviously, like I said, there's less gunpowder, so it's a smaller explosion, less gas to use, and more of it's going down the barrel because it doesn't have that bullet blocking some of that or making it harder for some of that. So if you try to fire your weapon with a blank and you don't have a BFA in, almost always you'll not have enough blowback to chamber the next round. So you put that BFA in there to get enough blowback on your breech to chamber the next round. Base WOG. I don't actually know what WOG means. I'm assuming WOG is an acronym. It might not be. But a base WOG generally means a person who never leaves base. So a guy that never goes out into the field. A guy who's always in either work dress or dress uniform, never in combats. Or even if he is in combats. Actually, it's even worse if you see a guy in combats and you call him a base WOG. And again, it's a derogatory comment. Lots of derogatory comments here. But yeah, if you see a guy in combats and you call him a base WOG, you're saying to everybody he's trying to pretend that he's a combat soldier, but he's not. And that's bad. Short arm inspection. Any guesses? So this refers to, and this would happen a lot, especially when we were on base. The guys would go out to the bars. They'd meet some girl down at the bars, and there were a bunch of different terms for the girls down at the bars, and I can't remember any of them off the top of my head. But they'd meet them, and then they would be worried that they had caught a venereal disease, and they'd go to the clinic, the MIR, and I don't even know what MIR stands for, but it's basically the medical clinic. Maybe it was medical inspection room. I'm not sure. But you go for a short arm inspection, and it literally meant you're getting your dick checked out. KFS, another acronym. It means knife, fork, spoon. KFS is something that we carried with us everywhere. It was actually an integral part of our web gear. I remember it was always kept right here behind your canteen, or at least that's where I kept mine. I think that's where it was supposed to be kept. Firewatch or stove watch. So basically meant the same thing. Firewatch would be in the summer when everybody's in their hooch, which is another term I don't even have here. A hooch or a shelter half or a ground sheet would be basically a small pup tent. A ground sheet, everyone would carry a ground sheet, and you could put two of these ground sheets together, zip them together, and two guys, it would make a small pup tent, and two guys could sleep under that. Or you could take the one and turn it into an even smaller pup tent or a hooch. And then somebody would always have to be awake in the hide. And they said that the reason for that was fire watch, to ensure that no fires broke out and everybody dies. Stove watch is a similar thing. When you're in a 10-man tent, there always has to be a stove burning because it's so cold in northern Ontario. And there would always, literally every minute of every day when that stove was on, there would be someone watching that stove to ensure that no fires started. And it basically just means you've got watch. You've got to be up and awake and ensuring the safety of your fellow soldiers. Christen the ground. Make a long story short, that means you're going to take a piss. Sometimes it means you're going to take a dump, but generally it means you're going to take a piss. And christen the ground literally means you're wetting the ground with the piss. Headspace and timing. So that's a term for any automatic weapon, or at least the older automatic weapons. So the C5, which was the 7.62 GPMG general purpose machine gun. World War II, Korea, well, maybe not World War II, Korea, Vietnam era machine gun. And the 50 caliber machine guns, which look very similar to the GPMG, just a lot bigger. You would have to, there was a specific gap that was necessary in the breech block. I think it was between the breech and the barrel, so that the bullets would sit properly and be able to fire properly without jamming. And then timing referred to, I believe it referred to how fast you were able to get the bullets in. But it all came down to when you headspace and time the weapon, you were ensuring that it was working properly. Now, when the C6s and the C8s came out, you didn't have to headspace and time anymore. They actually had those quick release barrels, and they were pre-headspaced and timed. And yeah, we never headspaced and timed those that I know of. If I'm remembering that incorrectly, let me know in the comments down below. Pepper pod or pepper pot? I always thought it was pepper pod, but someone in the RCR channel told me that it was pepper pot, and they had what seemed like a good explanation for it. I honestly don't know, but what it refers to is essentially a section attack, and it's the style of movement used in a section attack. And we had a couple of ways of talking about that. We would say up he sees me down, or we do dash down crawl sights as observe fire. And basically what it meant was you'd start from the prone position. Like you're doing a section attack, okay? You're firing at people, they're firing back at you. You're on the ground in the prone position. You would get up, you would run 3 steps, you would dive into the dirt, you would roll or crawl to one side or the other, and it was always random which side that you rolled or crawled to. You would put your weapon up in front of your face, you would get a sight picture, find somebody to fire at, fire probably 2 shots. Yeah. And then do it all over again. Dash down, crawl, sights, reverse fire. So you'd dash, you'd go down, you would crawl one side or the other, bring up your sights, you would observe what you want, you would fire, and then you would do it all over again. And that whole thing was called pepper pod or pepper pot. Base plate. So the literal term for this is the plate that's at the bottom of a mortar. I think it was both. Well, I mean, we used it for the 81 millimeter mortar, definitely. I think the 60 millimeter mortar was the same thing. It had a small base plate. 81 millimeter mortar had a large base plate. And what we'd do is we would bed in the base plate. We would slam it down as hard as we could. We would jump on it a few times or whatever. That we would seat the mortar in there, and then we would drop a couple of rounds through it to drive that plate into the ground, and that's called bedding in. And the reason for that was because the way that we sighted these mortars were based off of a stick that was placed off to the side, and we had a sight on the mortar. And we would find where that stick was, and there were numbers on our sight, and on the mortar itself, and we would adjust the position of the mortar either side to side or up and down based off of a bunch of calculations that the mortar fire controller was doing in the van. And if the base plate started moving after the calculations had been done, your fire would go off wildly. So you'd bed in that base plate in order to ensure that your fire was more accurate. And again, this could be used as a derogatory term for people, basically meaning he does not a lot, because the base plate, other than holding the mortar, the bottom of the mortar in place, it didn't have any other purpose. And lastly, fucking the dog or dog fucking. This should be pretty self-explanatory, I would think. But basically, it means doing nothing. Yeah, there's not a lot of other ways to say that. If you're dog fucking or if you're fucking the dog, same thing. It means you're doing nothing when you should probably be doing something else. So that's it, guys. That is everything that I was able to grab from the RCR community on Facebook. And thank you to everyone in the RCR community who reminded me of all of these things, because I'll guarantee you I couldn't have remembered them all on my own. If I missed something, if you want to, if you've got any other suggestions, leave them in the comments down below. If you want a third one, if you want me to take up all of your suggestions and do a third one, tell you what all of these things mean, I will absolutely do that. So that's it for military sayings and slang. Guys, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me. And put a like on the video if you liked it, because it really helps with that algorithm, helps me get out to more people. And I appreciate you guys for watching, so we'll see you in the next one. Bye.